Well, listen, the Czech saying is, when you are drowning, you are grabbing even a little twig. This is what all Czechs were doing, grabbing for with the hope for this little twig. This is a quote from Milos Forman. It tells the struggle the Czech youth were going through, just like in his film. Milos Forman is a film director, screenwriter, actor, and a professor. He graduated from the Film Faculty of the Academy of Arts in Prague as a script writer. He started his career as either writer or assistant director. With determination and good fortune, he started directing his first major productions, Black Peter and Love of a Blonde. Both films had great success locally and internationally. Milos Forman is named as one of the most famous directors in Czech New Wave and American cinema. Talking about Czech New Wave, it is a film movement in Czechoslovakia in the 1960s. It was the golden era of the country's film history, stimulating global interest in the Czech films. Before the Czech New Wave started, the country was powered over by socialist realism cinema. Everything pictured must be on how great and diligent the proletariat was, and how disgusting and wicked the capitalists were. The cinema does not show the truth of how it feels to be poor and among the working class. The films has to be simple, so even the most honest farmer can understand. There are some differences between Czech New Wave and French New Wave. Czech films normally maintain stronger narratives. The directors in Czech New Wave represents the future of the film industry in Czechoslovakia. Hence, they have better access to studios and state funding. In this communist country, there is always censorship. Milos Forman once said, 20 years, the films of television were in structure, the literature, radio in communist countries, they are clean as a whistle. There was no violence, no sex, no drugs, nothing. So, how did the Czech New Wave start up? Yes, it was the motivation from these new talents. After the communists had taken over the country in 1948, the numbers of feature films produced had been decreased to 3 each year. However, the films go back then still had 3, 4, and 5 talented students who graduated. Milos Forman, Iri Menzel, Vera Chitulova, Jeremiah Ires, and Ivan Passer started their career as directors around that period. There was no official group formed, and no public aim to achieve in the Czech New Wave. Hence, it is hard to define a certain style in the wave. It was called the spirit of freedom to try out any film forms. Like hearted observations, erotisms, black humor, visual poetry, sarcasm, and humanisms are some styles that could be seen in the films by the Czech New Wave director. Czech New Wave is motivated by Czech literature, pursuing a skillful style. The film techniques used are mainly typical short lengths or experimental montage with very fast editing, and rarely used examples from other films classic. The films in the wave show more interest in people and also expressing their concerns in a more spontaneous manner, such as on an actual location shoot. However, the freedom doesn't mean they could do everything. The authorities would still ban films and restrict distribution. The filmmakers would have to postpone their productions or face rejections. Unfortunately, when Soviet-led Warsaw Patrol strided into Czechoslovakia and established a cruel system change, the Czech New Wave had to come to an end. Luckily for Milos Forman, he immigrated to New York after his Czech studio dismissed him. The rest of the directors who continued to stay in Czechoslovakia had to face censorship in their films. Milos Forman films are greatly inspired by cinema verite and Italian neorealism. His films show many sarcastic criticism. The use of non-professional actors, unscripted dialogues, and actual location shoots are some of his trademarks in his films. He focuses on searching people's experience in the story, allowing the audience to discover themselves in the fight for free utterance and own resolution. The key genres Milos Forman worked on are drama, satire, comedy, and bibliography. The themes he had worked on are the problems, people, and the perspective of the world. Milos Forman worked regularly with a Czech cinematographer, Mirkus Odry. They were classmates in the film school. Some films they collaborated are The Fireman's Boss, Amadeus, Valmont, and Goya-Ghost. The two recognized films Milos Forman directed in the Czech New Wave are The Love of a Blonde and Black Peter. Misled use of the Czechoslovak society are depicted in both films. His films maintain an exhilarating relevance to the modern living by recognizing the iconic events and trend. Both films point out some of the obvious ridiculousness beneath the Czechoslovak society. In Black Peter 1963, it was about a teenager who barely keeps his job, always in conflict with his father and awkwardly searching for romance. Peter portrayed a comic symbol of a perplexed Czech youth. In Lost of a Blonde, 1965, Furman emphasizes the harsh amusement on the result of an army unit being allocated to a factory town where there are more women than men. In the second part of the film, the lead actress followed a traveling piano player to Prague, where she realized neither the guy nor his parents are concerned about her. The dark undercurrent of the film blends with Furman's satire of incomprehensible work and morality. The screenplays of Furman's films have a rather loose narrative structure. Furman said as he was writing, he only thinks about what's interesting, not much on whether it would sound logical or not. The next and last Czech film Milos Forman had directed was The Fireman's Ball. Guess how did the film came about? The director actually crashed a real fireman's ball with some of his colleagues, and they were amused by the nightmare that they had gone through. Hence, they immediately wrote a script about it. He used non-professional actors, in fact some real firemen, to show natural interactions among the citizens. However, the film created some controversy after it was released. The fire companies in Czechoslovakia felt that they are being mocked at, and hence protested. The film has a cynical tone, and hence the Czechoslovakian Communist Party felt that it was showing as a political parable to criticize the communist system. In Black Peter and Loves of a Blonde, Furman has shown the technique of moving from humor to serious comment, changing the emotion of the audience instantly when they are still laughing. An example from Loves of a Blonde is when Andula is eavesdropping on the argument between Mila and his parents in their double bed. The audience would be still laughing at the situation, and it seems that Andula is giggling about it too. However, the twist in reality is she is crying bitterly. This technique could also be seen clearly in the Fireman's Ball in a more elaborated manner. We laugh at the clumsy situations the firemen were going through in the first half of the film. However, an unpleasant reality was shown in the second half of the film, and all laughter would stop. Milos Forman used satire to picture the limit of Czech small-town life. Even though there are still some comical moments, he still showed empathy for his main character. After the controversies of the Fireman's Ball, Milos Forman moved to America to continue his career. When he was in America, he did more on drama films. The first two films he made in America were Taking Off and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The themes in Taking Off were similar to Black Peter and Loves of a Blonde. Taking Off analyzes the generation gap in the American society. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest had obvious link with the Fireman's Ball. Similarly, he casted a recognized actors as the main character, but for the extras, he got non-professional actors and real mental patients. Therefore, when people watch the films, these people would seem to be having real mental problems. In the film, Milos Forman used a lot of reaction shots to put more characters into the scenes. For example, in the therapy scene, he would film the reactions of Jack Nicholson for 10 minutes, even though he did not have many lines to say. Many people criticized the film for not showing respect, portraying the American society as a crazy refuge. However, the film still won all 5 major Oscars awards: Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, and Screenplay. The theme of an individual versus the influential establishment can still be seen clearly in the Furman's film. Some characteristics of his film style are the natural lighting, many observations of characters, emotions, and black humor. Characters. There are truly many unique characters in Milos Forman's films. Milos Forman focused a lot on the characters, making films about the people. There are a wide variety of characters he filmed: evil, crazy, 9, etc. The characters are the key elements in his film. In Amadeus, who ever thought that the genius musician, Mozart, turns out to be the crazy and weird person? The film is also evil, seeing the success of Mozart, to his fall and his death. Amadeus won 8 Oscars awards: Best Actor in Leading Role, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Makeup, and Best Sound Mixing. He also did another controversial film, People vs. Larry Flynt. This film is about an unusual hero who is the founder of the pornography magazine publisher, engaging in a long battle over his freedom of speech rights. It was obvious that Furman was showing sympathy towards this rude and irritating protagonist. And most probably this links to his early fight against communist censorship when he was in Czechoslovakia. Another successful film he did was The Man on the Moon. He casted Jim Carrey as the lead character, who is an eccentric performer. Many people praised Jim Carrey for his realistic portrayal of the characters, Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton. Milos Forman said that on set, he actually only met Jim Carrey twice. Then where did Jim Carrey go in the rest of the time? It's because on set, there are only Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton. Most of the time, Jim Carrey will be in his roles, Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton. Milos Forman was a huge influence in the Czech New Wave and American cinema too. He won numerous awards and created his own reputation in the industry. He earned 2 Best Director awards in Oscar. He showed that characters are very important to films. From an interview by Kevin Lewis, he said that Milos Forman doesn't glorify his character. The director shows them in their milieu, acting out of their character, rather than out of an ideology. He meant that it was the emotions in the stories that Furman focused on to decide whether a film is worth making or not.